Hello, this is Jer, and today I'm going to be talking about the bonbon tree. You'll find them abundantly in the nectar biome. There is absolutely no shortage of them at the top of the Frosty planet pack. Tons of bonbon trees all around. The other option is getting one from the printing pod via a seed. The bonbon tree takes up a size of 3 by 3. You can plant them in either the farm tile or the hydroponic farm. They take snow, so putting them in the hydroponic farm probably doesn't make any sense because you can't push snow inside a liquid pipe. I was curious if you can fertilize the bonbon tree to make it grow faster, but it appears you cannot. The dupes completely ignore it, indicating the fact that that thing can't be fertilized like other plants to grow quicker. I watched the bonbon tree grow for a cycle. Oh, what fun. But it grew about 22%. And if I do the math, that means it's going to grow to a full tree in 4.5 cycles, which is what they've got listed in the database. After 4.5 cycles, the tree is starting to grow some branches, but those branches only grow if it has some light. And that includes both the wild version and the planted version, though the wild version doesn't require any snow as it grows. As the bonbon tree grows, you might see this message, nectar production halted. That's normal, just wait for some of the branches to fully develop. I was curious if a higher intensity light will actually make the branches grow any quicker. So I'm going to run this test while I'm waiting for this tree over here to grow its first branch. I've noticed that the tree in the greenhouse is fully grown and we're getting a farmer's touch applied to the actual branches. So that's interesting. Notice that the farmer's touch has to be applied on each branch individually. Looking at the growth speed between this mercury ceiling light and the regular ceiling light, and there doesn't really appear to be any difference. It's been just about 4.5 cycles, and we should nearly have branches. I was curious when it said the life cycle here of the bonbon tree. Did that apply to the actual tree itself or the branches? It applies to both. So it's going to take a full 9 cycles by the time you'll actually get a full tree with all its branches. So there we are. We've got our tree with a full set of branches, and immediately what's going to happen is that dupes are going to harvest it for a little bit of wood. If we look in this menu, I assume we should be getting 75 kilograms, but I'm going to actually verify that by selecting wood in here. And let's just make sure that I do sweep only. And I'll wait for someone to put the wood in there. Well, we got 375. That's more than I thought. I'm just curious. Hold on. If I do 375 divided by 3.5, that's 107. Okay, well, that is more wood than I had thought. Oh, hold on. Let me go back. If I do 375 divided by the 5... Ah! Per branch. That's what it's referring to. So when it says 75 kilograms, it's talking about each branch of wood production. Now there are two things that you can get out of the bonbon tree. One is wood, as I just shown, but if you want to get nectar instead, make sure you disable harvesting before this tree actually creates its branches. So now I've got a bonbon tree that has branches. It won't be harvested for wood. And then you'll notice it starts producing nectar. So these little spigot seals can actually consume it. Or if we want, we can pump some of that nectar out via this strange liquid pipe that we can connect and make it go somewhere else. Notice the spigot seal, as it starts consuming the nectar, will eventually start excreting ethanol. So the next question I had is, providing more light, will that produce more nectar? And it did not take long at all to realize that absolutely yes. I've turned on the light, both of these at the same time. This guy here is 89, 90, while this one over here, which has much less light, is at 32 or so percent. Regarding the farming station, if your goal is to produce wood, you might want to do that, but if your goal is to produce nectar, don't bother with the farming station unless you're trying to initially grow the tree in branches. The next question I have is, how much nectar is actually in here? We've got a pipe sending that into this liquid reservoir. I have an assumption of what that value is, and that is sitting over here at 80 kilograms. We'll see if that's actually true. Yeah, it is not. That's only 20 kilograms. So here's the next test that I want to do. I want to take all the nectar and just empty it over here. So the tree is at pretty much 0%, or it's already to 2%. What I'm going to do is direct any new nectar to go into the second one so we can measure that. And then I've got a timer set up over here. So we'll set that up. So in one cycle, we'll be alerted, and I'll come back and I'll see how much nectar. And I'm going to assume that is close to the 80 that this mentions over here. And it says, yeah, 80 per cycle. So in now, does that mean the mercury ceiling light 80? I think we may have to do some additional testing after, but we'll start with this. Okay, it has been a cycle. So let's go take a look at how much nectar this tree has produced over the last cycle. 60 kilograms. And where is it now? We've got another bunch that's on the way. I'm going to guess this takes us to 80, because that's 20 per. So yeah, I guess under a mercury light, we get 80 kilograms of nectar per cycle. I'm going to test a few more things here. First of all, let's drain all the nectar from these two guys. Let's take the power off from lighting. And what I want to see this time is how much nectar I'm going to get from a single ceiling light. I also want to verify that the farming station doesn't have any effect on the amount of nectar that I get. That's my assumption, but I want to be absolutely certain. So in order to do this, we're going to be plugging the lights back in, but I got two empty liquid reservoirs. We've got this one here, which is not in a greenhouse, and this one here, which is. Let's just make sure that I disconnect that. So I'm going to be doing that, coming back in one cycle, but that's not all. I also want to see, I've got this mercury ceiling light, and this is a wild plant. I'm curious if I'm going to get the full 80 kilograms that a farmed version gives. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but either way, I want to know. Currently, this guy is 0.5. We'll just call that 0. And plug this guy in so that it can start growing, and hold on. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Down here, I'm going to do the same thing. We'll plug these two guys in. And I will set this to come back or alert me in one cycle from now, and I will come back and report my findings. Okay, the results are in. First of all, being in a greenhouse makes no difference. We're at 58% in either case, 59 now. We haven't got any nectar produced over this last cycle. So yeah, just the single ceiling light produces much less nectar. With the mercury version, we got 80 kilograms a cycle, and we've got less than 20. Let's go look over the wild plant. This has 20 kilograms, and that has just about reset. So it does not produce the same amount as the farmed. In fact, that looks like a fourth, which is pretty standard for wild versus farmed plants. So I'm going to say you need 4 wild bonbon trees per one, or 4 wild, to get the same result from a farmed version of that. Alright, well, I'm quite curious of exactly how much lighting you need to increase the speed, so I'm going to do another test here in a little bit. So, about to run another test. What I'm doing is, instead of going this full cycle, I'm going to give this guy a full chance to get its output, and we're going to see where everyone else gets nectar in relation. So we've got this plant over to the left that has 2, actually technically 1, 2, 3 of 5. I guess over here we've got 4 of the 5, and here 2 of the 5 that are available under the mercury ceiling light. So once this guy outputs something, we'll see where the others fall behind. Okay, so the results are in. This bonbon tree is harvest ready. Meanwhile, this guy here with 3 of 5 available is at 60%. That equals out. Over here, 4 of the 5 is at 80%, and here 2 of the 5 is at 40%. So there seems to be a direct link between how many branches are accessing light and how much nectar you get. So the next test involves comparing the mercury ceiling light to different arrangements of light. We've got basic 1 ceiling light, we've got 2, we've got 3, we've got 3 plus a lamp, and then 3 plus 2 lamps. So I'll be back when this thing is charged and we'll do a comparison. So the results are in. So in the same amount of time that I was able to get a yield from the mercury ceiling light, I was able to get only 16% from a single ceiling light. 2 gives 27, 3 is 43, and 3 plus a side lamp gives about 50%, and an extra side lamp gives 58. What I did is I calculated the total lux at these 5 locations for each of these guys. So over here it's 7,200, over here is 12,600, and so on. And I found a direct relationship between how much light there is, and there's a linear increase that seems to max out at 46,600 or something around there. So that indicates to me that the 60,000 lux is not necessary to get the maximum yield. So I'm going to try to get 4,600 or 46,000 or so, and see if that can compete on par with this bonbon tree with a mercury ceiling light. So I'll get that test started. So here's my next test. I've got this time an array of ceiling lights, 2 side lamps, and I totaled the total lux here. Let's just switch over. I didn't get the 4 or 46,000 I wanted. Instead, this is 39,000, but that's 83% of the 46,600. So if this if my theory is correct, this should get about 83% the yield of this. So I'm going to let this run and see where we actually get in reality. Results are in on this, and I believe I am correct. So I've got 83% in this case. So what you can do, if you want to find how effective your tree is growing, simply take the lux at all these 5 locations, add them together, divide by 46,600. That number could be off by a little bit, but it would be a good estimate of how effective this is going to be versus giving it a crazy amount of light in the mercury ceiling light. Alright, maybe I will do one more little test around this before I look at some other aspects of the Bonbon tree. One final thing I've noticed about this, remember when I had the mercury ceiling light a little bit to the left? So in this case, this guy's going to produce a yield at 2/5 over here. So when I said you add the total lux at all these 5 locations, that's not exactly it. I figure that each branch has a maximum light it can absorb, and that seems to be about 9,300. So if you can get 9,300 at each of these 5 locations, then you pretty much are maxing out. Any more is just wasted effort or wasted light. Another quick test that's going on. I've got a mercury ceiling light versus the light from out in space, which probably isn't going to be that reliable of a test since the actual light changes throughout the cycle. But this one might. This is going to put us above the 9,300 that I think is the maximum. So I'm thinking that maybe we won't worry too much about this one. But my assumption is this guy, actually we can even tell now, we're about 24, 25%. We're actually above this guy, but that could just simply be because the mercury ceiling light takes a little bit to warm up. Alright, I'll let this get to the end and I'll see if it is in fact, because at this point there's definitely a lot more lux here, but I don't think we're getting any more benefit than using the sun lamp. Okay, so this guy is harvest ready, and it appears, yeah, this guy's already gone on to produce more. And I think that's simply just because the sun lamp turns on a little bit quicker than the mercury light. Though I will say that given the fact that this produces so much heat and uses so much power, is probably not the right choice for shining light on a bonbon. Looks like a series of ceiling lights is far more effective for the power use. So just about everything I've been looking at is getting the bonbon tree and branches to grow. I'm going to look at to see what it takes to kill this thing. We're going to take the lights away. We're at the start of cycle 30. So I'm just going to let this roll for a bit. And I'm just curious, do the branches die after not having light for a long period of time? We'll find out. It's been almost 3 cycles and nothing has really happened to the tree. I'm pretty sure I'm able to just reconnect the light. And it was as if nothing happens. I'm not surprised at all, because actually looking at some of the wild version of the bonbon tree, they've been without light for a very long time and nothing's really happened to them. Well, now I'm feeling pretty stupid, which happens quite often in this game. But I just realized only now that when you hover over these guys, it says branch productivity. And that's quite interesting. So if I go over this, I can see there's 5,400 lux. And I have 54% productivity, which makes me think that 10,000 is where I should be aiming for to get 100%. As opposed to that 93 or 96,000 I said earlier, but let's just see if we can push up our lux. Okay, 74, so that's probably 7,400 lux. Oh, it is. Aha! That's how this works. I see, I see. I don't know if I can get a little bit more light in there or not to get the full 10,000. So each branch needs 10,000 lux if it wants to be at 100%. So that's got to be 8,400 lux. Yeah, okay. Finally figuring out how that works. So it appears taking light away from the bonbon tree is not going to kill it. It just doesn't do its nectar growth. I'm now going to look at other ways of possibly causing harm. The tree actually grows between -75 and -15, so how about we take a temperature that is far too cold for it. And then we've got trunk health. Okay, this makes me think that it's not just going to not produce something, but rather die in time. Been watching this plant for a while. It doesn't look like it actually is going to die, even though there is this message about tree health. In fact, if you hover over it, it says growth will resume when conditions improve. So I think this bonbon tree is very resilient. It may not actually produce anything when conditions are not good, but it's not going to die. Let's, though, test the reverse. So let's take the temperature too high. Let's maybe choose these trees down here. And again, they have a temperature issue. But I don't think I'll watch this for a little bit, but I don't think they're going to die. I think they're just going to not produce anything until conditions improve, as it says. So is it just an immediate matter of fact of returning the temperature to the normal? And whoa! So the bonbon tree seems to be pretty resilient. Let's try a more extreme case, though. Let's take it really, really down. Got a temperature of 153. Let's surround it. Okay, when I directly do this over the plants, it gives an issue, but that may not necessarily be due to a temperature. Oh no, yep, okay. So there is a temperature where it just quits and turns to wood. Fair enough. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing in reverse. What about room temperature? Is that going to kill the tree? Going to cause a lot of melting, but no. Let's take it up even warmer. Yep. So what temperature is that? 26. So not, yeah, not very resilient and very warm environment where the dupes would be happy. But it only grows at minus 15, so if you've kind of gone to that temperature, it's probably not, there's probably bigger things to worry about at that point. Alright, so they're really resilient, but there definitely is an extreme on both conditions of when things are too warm and too hot for these guys. Let's look at the gas that can kill these things potentially as well. Okay, so again, a bonbon tree that is nice and happy. But what if we were to push in hydrogen? Apparently something that this plant doesn't like. Let's just verify. It likes oxygen, polluted oxygen, carbon dioxide, snow, which I don't quite understand, and vacuum. And it's gone into, well, it doesn't like the body temperature. What is that right now? 98. Let's take that up. Oh, that could be why it meant to be 222. Let's just change that. Just want to look at the effective gas. Okay, there it is. The atmosphere warning. That's what I was expecting to get. But it doesn't seem to kill it off. Though I do get that trunk health message, but it says growth will resume when conditions improve. And this is all, hold on, this is very interesting. It looks like as long as, even though I've got hydrogen here, let's look at the gas. As long as one of the, I'm assuming it's the branches has a piece of oxygen, it doesn't matter about the rest of them. One piece has oxygen, the whole plant is happy. Let's let this move around. So we've got a piece of oxygen and still happy. In fact, maybe it's as long as that piece of oxygen is touching the plant, not the branch, because I see a piece of oxygen here. Let's just do this. Let's just see if we can convince that oxygen to fall down. If it does... Ah, okay, so at this point, It's interesting, didn't realize that, but if it appears if oxygen is touching in any piece of the plant or any other gases that it can support, it can actually survive. So if you have a little bit of hydrogen in the top, that's not going to be a problem for this plant. Bonbon plant is kind of resilient. Alright, well, I think that's enough mess around with the Bonbon plant. I hope you enjoyed. I think my overall comment, first of all, is I definitely learned a good amount. I think I'm ready to put this in practice in some of my playthroughs. But my overall thoughts is they do a good job of explaining a lot of this stuff. The only thing I'm a little bit disappointed with is it didn't really explain much about the light. I had to go through a lot of bit of headache, as you've seen today, to figure out the fact that you don't just need light, but you need a good amount of light. In fact, it looks like it's 10,000 lux at each of these to get the optimal branch productivity. But I figured it out. And I'm going to put this in practice, but I might actually do a little bit more experimentation on other aspects of Frosty Planet Pack before I do another big playthrough. So potentially look for a video on that sometime soon. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you another time.